introducing our host, Jillian Samueli Reddin.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Jillian Samueli Reddin, Director of Hockey Operations for the San Diego Gulls of the American Hockey League. I'm also daughter of Henry and Susan Samueli, who own the Anaheim Ducks. On behalf of my family and the whole Ducks organization, welcome to Women in Sports Night. When my parents purchased the Ducks franchise almost 18 years ago, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to begin my career of working in sports. First, by spending a couple years here with the Ducks, and then over 13 years in the hockey operations for our affiliates in Norfolk, Syracuse, and currently in San Diego. I'm really excited for tonight's festivities. We will celebrate the outstanding achievements of both women playing and working in sports. Sorry for my voice. I'm very proud that our organization is stepping to the forefront to highlight and promote the strong women leaders on and off the playing surface. In fact, all of the key elements of tonight's celebrations were strategically planned and orchestrated by more than 100 women sports executives working here with the Ducks organization. So to you ladies, thank you. As we get ready to recognize these amazing women, all of whom have paved their way within sports and are leaving lasting legacies, I can't help but look out at you all sitting here and know each of you represent the future and the present of women in sports. So take a look around as you might cross paths with one of you wonderful ladies one day. So I hope tonight's panel and mentoring sessions provide a valuable resource to each of you, and I thank you once again for attending this wonderful event. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our host of today's event, our fabulous rinkside reporter, Aly Lozoff. Please welcome her to the stage.
Thank you so much, Jillian, for my introduction and also just for being a fantastic role model. Everybody, let's give her a round of applause, too. Welcome, everyone. It's such an honor to have you all here for this inaugural Women in Sports Night thrown by the Anaheim Ducks. We're thrilled to celebrate and unite women ahead of National Girls and Women's in Sports Day and also the Women's in Sports Day coming up March 3rd. So thank you all. We're honored to have you as our first guest for this first-time event. Let's give you all a round of applause as well. You know, I see I see some athletes, business people, and entrepreneurs, a little bit of everyone in this crowd, a real great blend. But I also see a couple interspersed between all the women. I see a couple of proud family members, some husbands in the crowd. I see some girl dads, including my own dad who is here tonight. So let's give a round of applause for them too, to be here and support us all. Before any of this part of my career happened, I had a little bit of a career as a bar mitzvah DJ and host. So before we begin, I want to hear the crowd. Can I hear you all? Are we going to have fun tonight? Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Are we going to have fun tonight? Okay, so put your thinking caps on because it's going to be interactive. At the end of this panel, we're going to want questions from all of you too. So if you've got something that you're itching to ask or burning to ask, something that you think is going to unlock some inspiration in one of you today, just make sure you keep that, write it down in the books that we've provided you in front of you. Take notes. I take a copious amount of notes every game. That's why I've got a notepad right here tonight and a pen. So if anything strikes your mind, just write it down and we'll invite you to ask at the end of the night. So without further ado, it's my honor to share this stage tonight with 4 remarkable women. So let's hear huge rounds of applause. You can whoop it up too. Be as loud as you want to. Let's first welcome 3-time Olympic gold medalist Misty May-Treanor to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi, come on down. I feel like it's The Price is Right. Okay, coming up next, ESPN's longest tenured sports anchor, Linda Cohn, everybody. Oh, that's it. We need some music. Yes, thank you. That's perfect. Co-founder and president of Angel City Football Club, Julie Uhrman. And Women's College World Series national champion and the youngest commissioner in American professional sports, Lauren Chamberlain. All right, I think we can all take a seat, ladies, and get comfortable and cozy for this one. Everybody's mic is on. Mic check, yes?
Hello.
Wonderful, thank you. I'd love to begin this panel tonight just by asking a question to all of you in your respective fields, how you've seen growth and change for women. Maybe you can give examples in your own careers. Julie, maybe we can start with you on this one.
When you make eye contact with the person asking the question. Well, it depends, right? So as far as leadership, ownership, I mean, I'm a female founder of a women's professional football team. I have two co-founders that are also females, Natalie Portman, the actress and activist, and Karen Norman, who's a venture capitalist. And I think what that shows is that you don't have to follow the traditional path to go after your dreams and goals. It's really about having vision and conviction about what you're trying to accomplish. And then if you look at women's sports more broadly, I think we're at the beginning of an incredible 5-year growth curve. You saw it earlier this week when the Indian Professional League for Women launched 5 teams. The franchise prices were close to $500 million. You're seeing sold-out crowds for women's professional football. We sold out 4 games. San Diego Wave sold out a game against us. So it's starting, and now we're starting to get media coming on board to show it and make it easier for fans to watch.
How about Linda? Because I know that we've talked before this night about how much change there's been for women in broadcasting and some of the adversity that you may have faced in your career and overcome.
We don't have enough time to talk about the adversity back in the day and the prehistoric ages, but let's think positive. Boy, it's come a long way. I mean, it really has. Now women are getting opportunities. They're not looked past. We need more women in management and hiring positions. That's what we really need, because then there'd be, there would never be a pause. There'd never be hesitation to think about hiring a woman. But I just love, for me, it's very satisfying to see so many, like yourself, Aly, so many talented young women in broadcasting right now who have gotten the opportunities, but they're kicking butt with those opportunities. You know what I mean? Because you just don't want women there because they're women. You want women who are kicking butt and taking advantage of the opportunity, just like men have done since the beginning of time. So we are only trending upward, and I believe it's going to continue that way. But until we get more women in management positions, in hiring positions, then look out, because then it'll change even more for the better.
I thought for a second you were going to say kicking butt and taking names, but we'll take it. That was
Come on,
great.
I'm not that cliche.
How about you, Lauren?
Oh my gosh. First of all, hi everyone. Thanks for being here. This is so awesome. Really quick, give it up for the Ducks for putting this on. This is amazing. Amazing. But I can speak for myself personally with softball. I mean, the Women's College World Series, if anybody tunes into that yearly, it's been one of the top stats that women pull from when we talk about the growth of women in sport.
Highest rated, one of the highest rated events.
Yeah. It's incredible. So when we talk about the growth of softball, you can see it's exponential. And my job as a commissioner of the Pro League is to figure out how we can merge that brand and continue that path for the pros. But one of the cool things that I want to touch on too is that we get to learn from each other as women now in the pro sports area. Like I'm not tuning in to see the Ducks, of course, I'm tuning in to see what the Ducks do, but that's not my first choice. I want to see what Angel City's doing. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see what the trend is with them. We're learning from women in our space, and I think that totally shows growth.
That means you're left, Misty.
Oh man, where do I start? Same with Linda. I played a very male-dominated sport, and it wasn't an Olympic sport until 1996, beach volleyball. Carrie and I kind of took the torch from the players that came before us and recognized that it was our turn to kind of continue that path. And so we've paved a way, I want to say, for young women, some of you may be out here today, to be able to get scholarships for beach volleyball. Beach volleyball was not even a sport in college, so there's more scholarship availability to young women, no matter if it's volleyball, basketball, soccer, softball, anything. Sports overall has grown.
Ice hockey.
ice hockey. You're seeing and you're seeing emerging sports. I mean, who would have thought a female hockey player 50 years ago? Probably nobody, right? Except for us. We would have been like, it's gonna happen one day. So just sports in all is emerging, and it's not because, again, we're women and we're girls. We work hard and we take the torch and we run with it. We're told no, and we say no for you, but yes for me. So the opportunities have just grown tremendously. Club sports are booming, and I'm very lucky.
And for rinkside reporters, I'm proud that in the NHL, at least half the team's rinkside reporters are women. It's probably more now, actually, and that's incredible. So if anyone has a dream of being a rinkside reporter, come talk to me after this, because I think it's really fantastic to have representation there as well. The definition of success. It's different for everybody. We'd love if you could each share yours. Misty, maybe we could start with you.
I was thinking of this. I think you hit it on the head. Success is different for everybody. I always set many goals, and to me, success is making the person next to me better, making my teammate better, making my sport better, leaving whatever I have done for that day just the best that it can be. So that's my success. Even though I may have failed at something, if I left it better or left the person next to me better or in a better position, that's success to me.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
That was beautiful.
I was just digesting all that. You know, for me, success is when I hear about young women who come up to me, who watch me, who never thought they could be on TV doing sports, hosting Sports Center, being a reporter, and saying, you know, you inspired me. That means everything. But almost even more important to that, or it's like 1A and 1B for me, is that I was able to be a mom along the way. That's very important to me. I have 2 grown children now. I could have gone and not stayed in one place. I stayed in one place at ESPN. I could have jumped around, but that wouldn't have been good for my children. And as I look at them now as grown people, I know I did the right thing. And it wasn't about money, you know, because I could have made more money or this or that. So that's what I try to drill into young people, that success isn't about how much money you pull in, how much you make. Are you doing something you love? And that's another part of that's like 1C, that I've been able to do something that I really still enjoy doing. And I always, even though I've been doing it for 30 plus years, I always make believe someone's watching me for the very first time. And I have to prove to them that I know what the hell I'm talking about and that I belong. And you should never lose that. And that's just another message I tell young broadcasters as well.
I started my career in a very male-dominated space. So I was an investment banker, and success was how much money I made and what position I got, and equal opportunity to my male counterparts. And I think for most of my career, that's how I viewed success. Was I getting access to the same opportunities? And when I got access, was I getting into the same rooms? Was I being viewed the same way? And then ultimately, was I receiving the compensation and the recognition that I thought I deserved from that? Ironically, in building Angel City, we took such a different approach to building this business where most sports teams don't make money. And from the beginning, we knew that making money was a very important goal for us, because we were 3 female founders, we're a majority female ownership team, we were a majority female team, and we were doing everything differently. So we wanted to have a different outcome than the rest of the world, which is not making money, right? So we wanted to do it differently and prove that you could make money doing it, but we instill purpose in everything we do. And we lead with purpose to drive impact, to drive profitability so that we can bring the profitability back into the impact that we do. And so the long-winded way to say, how do I view success today, is looking at the impact that I've left behind, and to know that it is sustainable and will continue once I'm long gone.
Oh, success. I feel like I'm still on the journey to finding it. And when I say that, and I feel like you guys will be able to relate, as a player, when I was in college, I set the NCAA home run record that was just beaten. So I had a bit, which is great, by Jocelyn Allo.
I'm sure you cheered that person on.
I did. Sooners. So I was happy. But one of the blessings about that was being able to experience, which it's same for you guys in your field. It's at the top, and you get that top, and to everybody else, you already reached that pinnacle of success, and you've gotten that goal, and you did it. Now what? And to me, I thought at the moment, and I was young, I was in college, and then same with pro, you get drafted number 1 and all these big things, and you think you've been successful, but you're dying inside. Like, I'm just gonna be honest about it. Like, you're just dying inside because you don't have that happiness and you don't have that peace. So for me, success has been an ongoing journey of finding my peace within this space, because there is a lot of anger. I mean, let's just get real about it. Like, there's a lot of anger and bitterness. I know you guys can feel that too. It's like, God, we feel like we gotta fight every day, right? Like, I feel like my hands are up all the time, and I don't wanna have my hands up. I wanna be able to do this and just sit, you know what I mean? And I know that there's a long way to go, and there's women before me that fought so that my hands weren't clenched as hard. You know what I mean? So I think that's my goal for my personal success, is to be peaceful and happy and still be loving what I'm doing and not have to change my job because I couldn't, be happy and be peaceful.
Thank you all for sharing your definitions of success. Leading up to this event, I was able to talk with a few of the Anaheim Ducks, and one message stood out to me with head coach Dallas Aikens, who's a girl dad, has 2 girls of his own, and he said that his girls often ask him, Dad, what do you want me to be? And his answer, and his wife Ingrid's answer, is be happy. We want you to be happy. And it touched me. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, so I'm learning how to be a mom as well. And I think success to me changed, and it evolves as I evolve and as I grow in my career. I transitioned careers from being a lawyer, where success is really financially and driven, and also a male dominated. Back when I started, maybe there's more female attorneys now, but it just was a competitive environment. And the environment that I'm in now, as Linda alluded to, is also
Wait a
very
minute.
competitive.
I have to now interview you.
No.
What made you leave being a lawyer?
Well,
may I
I
ask?
wanted to be happy, so this is where I was going with this.
Good for you. That's awesome.
So I wanted to be happy, and I think sometimes it takes a big life event. In my case, my mom had a stroke, and sometimes you have to live through a big life event to reevaluate everything that's going on. And being happy is a huge part of being successful, because if you aren't happy, a lot of the things you achieve you won't even enjoy. So I hope that all of you can find that happiness and that balance while you're still striving and fighting for your dreams. My producer this evening, and another dynamic woman in sports, Samantha Glantz, she specifically wanted to highlight my second career as a lawyer by making sure that I recite at least one law tonight. So I'm going to get there, but can we give a round of applause? I don't see Sammy, but she's here somewhere. She works for the Anaheim Ducks as their publicist, and she made this whole night happen. So let's give her a round of applause. Now, last June, our country celebrated the 50th anniversary of the implementation of Title IX, so I'm going to recite it to you all now. I don't know it by heart. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So, my question, ladies, to each of you is, what has Title IX meant to you in your career? And Linda, maybe we can start with you.
Okay, well, back in the day, I was a goalie. I played ice hockey, and when I was in high school, I made the boys' team in my high school because there were no women's teams or clubs or anything where I could play ice hockey. I fell in love with the sport watching the games with my dad, and I wanted to be a goalie. I found out, even though I was severely nearsighted at the time, that I was actually good at being a goalie, because then my mother got me contact lenses, and I realized I can see. So, and then I realized I had good eye-hand coordination, and then I just fell in love with being a goalie. I was a kid with really low self-esteem, and sports saved me, and I say that because it gave me something to look forward to. And playing that position, I was a wallflower. I was very shy. Being a goalie, everyone's eyes are on you, but I was willing to take that chance to be, the person that lost the game, but even better, the person that won the game and made that great save at the end and get all that attention that, this little wallflower never got as a kid. So I fell in love with the sport. And so then when I got to college, I went to a small state university of New York school, Oswego State, near Syracuse, New York. I bring that up is because they did have a women's hockey team, and it was because of Title IX. And it was very, it was infant stages. But it was a big reason why I went to that college. Besides, they have great sunsets. That was really another reason. True story. But the hockey team was really to me, the magnet for me. And that was the first time I had played with women, like playing the sport I love with women. And it was just so cool. And I'll tell you something, and I'm sure all of these women can attest to it and they have their own stories. But man, sports made me and gave me the strength I have today. It really helped my growth period by playing it, by being a part of it. It really gave me the confidence I so very much needed. And because of Title IX, it took me to another level. So I'll be eternally grateful for the people like, Billie Jean King and others that have come before me that made that happen.
Anyone else want to add to their Title IX experience? Misty, you go ahead.
I was the first one to get a college scholarship from my family, so that was important, and that's what Title IX did for me. Was it allowed me to play a sport that I love and be able to get my education in college and then become a professional. I think a lot of times, and when I coach, I try to tell the young ladies, know the history. And I think those sitting out there, understand the history, understand the women that came before you, that fought no matter whether they played your sport or not. Because when you start to understand the history and the men and women, but tonight the women that paved that path for you, you start to appreciate the gratefulness that you have now, because the opportunities that they even had aren't even the 10th of what you have now, but they kind of lit that fire. And then you start to have a little more ownership, and you start to appreciate the game more, and you start to pick up, and your game elevates, and there's just that new ownership that you have as an athlete, because you do understand the sacrifices that the historical women before us made in order for you to be on the platform where you are today. So,
Julie, Lauren?
I mean, we at Angel City think about Title IX as really just the first step. So it's how do we bring access to everyone? How do we make it affordable? How do we make it accessible, regardless of where you're raised, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of anything that prevents you from getting there. We recognize the importance of sport when it comes to teaching leadership and teamwork and building that level of confidence. And so for us, it's about, okay, yeah, it's great that anybody can play the sport, right? But if you can't, if you don't have the cleats, if you don't have the transportation, if you don't have food in your belly, right? It doesn't matter if there's a pitch right across the street. So we try to focus on that aspect and how do we make it accessible to everybody, because that's when we'll win. It's not just about saying, okay, I can play. It's, okay, do I have all the tools? Am I ready? Am I available? Am I fed? Am I awake? Do I feel safe to go and play? And those are the things that we like to try to tackle.
I'll just add a quick note. I have a couple friends here. Hallie, Kara, Jen, Morgan, Katie. Just a couple, sorry. I'm an Orange County girl, so I had my squads here. But I wanted to acknowledge them, because not only did I get to play with some of them, but Jen, Morgan, I looked up to you both, and Katie as well. So again, if they didn't have that opportunity, just like Missy was talking about, if they didn't have that opportunity, I wouldn't be on this stage and have something to strive for. So it's that paying it back and then moving the needle forward.
Well said. Well said. Okay, I want to get to body image, because in a call that when we all met, we had a lot of discussions about this and strong feelings about it, especially for women athletes. It can be a hurdle, and Misty, I'd love for you to talk maybe also about how parents can help their kids overcome that hurdle.
Well, I think body image is one of those things, being a mom as well, and being a coach of young ladies, they deal with so much more now than we ever had to deal with. Everybody's concerned about the likes, no likes, filter, no filter. It becomes this big disarray mess and then it messes with your mind. I am a big advocate for playing as many sports as possible. And I always tell the athletes, it's cool to be strong. It's cool to have muscle. It's cool to be strong. And there's always a place for you. And I think that's important. And parents too, it's important, when you're looking at your kids going to college or pushing them into one sport, make sure, one, they're happy. Allow them to try different things, because you don't know what's going to happen. Growth spurt, no growth spurt, what they end up liking in the end. But also, too, as parents, we want this Division I light, right? And not everybody's geared towards Division I. There's such great schools at NAIA, Division III, Division II, and also the Division I. So kind of turn that off, be supportive. Be supportive of your child and let them know that, hey, they're doing great today. Be a fan, but really kick in that body image. They need it up here. I feel that everybody can play the sport that they want to. They don't have to be the fastest. They don't have to be the strongest, but they have to be the smartest. They have to be a student of the game. And as long as they have it up here and they have it in here and they are just strong-minded and willing never to give up, that there's a place for them, you know? So just remind the athletes out there not to worry about the likes. Find a community too that is there to propel you up. You young athletes out there, find friends, and I hate to say this, ditch the ones that don't, that are anchors, but find friends that understand when you have to make sacrifices to not go to a dance, that don't give you a hard time if you miss out on a movie. Find the friends that want to catapult you to be the best possible person you can be, and get that team surrounding you. That's going to make you the best. But again, this body image thing, be strong, because strong is cool. That's why I like strong girls. Women.
Your daughters are very lucky
So.
to have you as a mom and role model. I love that message. Thank you for sharing. And Lauren, you did the body image.
Sure
Body
did.
issue, excuse me, not body issue for ESPN Magazine. I would love to know how powerful that was for you, that whole experience.
Oh my gosh. Well, it didn't start powerful. I was so scared. They were like, okay, well, I got to take it back. I remember seeing the body issues when it was like Ronda Rousey, like you see the V, everything's cut. And I'm like, oh my God, so hot. You know what I mean? I'm like, that looks great. And I was like, they'd never do it. Like, I was thinking for me, if I ever got asked, I was like, no, I just don't think they would ever ask me. I thought that was not in the cards. I always said if they asked, I would do it. But I was like, there's no way. Like, because I saw what I saw, right? And then year after year, I started seeing different things. And then I think it was, anybody remember Prince Fielder on the cover? And he owned it. And I was like, and he's a big hitter. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a chance. You know what I mean? Maybe I could do this. And so once I saw that, I was like, oh, it sounds like they're shifting the narrative a little bit. And there were a couple other inclusive bodies in there. And I was like, man, I would do it. And I remember I got that call and they were like, would you do it? And I'm like, oh crap, now I got to say yes. You know what I mean? Now I got to get naked. Now I got to say yes. And so once I decided to do it, I think it was how authentically can I do this and what message am I sharing? That was the big thing because my dad's over there and that was a hard thing for him to go through. It was. I mean, he had to answer to his friends seeing the same issue. So I was like, look, I have to make sure my story is strong and make sure that there's a message behind this. So that whole experience was nerve-wracking. It was shaky. I cried on set. I'm going to be completely honest. I saw the first set of pictures and I was like, oh my God, that lighting. Like, I don't know if I made the right decision. That's really, I'm being 100% transparent. It was a difficult situation for me. But then as the shoot went on and I really connected with my photographer and everybody was on set, like, look, we want to show you in the light that we see you in. You're beautiful, you're strong, and what message do you want to send? And my message was that it's about being healthy and being strong, and that looks different on everyone. There's not one thing that looks the same. The beautiful part about softball is so many bodies can play it. It's probably the most inclusive body-wise sport. You can have the shortest and the smallest on the team hit it the farthest, and you can have the big girls can run fast too. You know what I'm saying? So it was fun for me to experience that. Definitely a life-changing moment. It took a huge turn and so many people around the world could connect to it. I'm still getting messages to this day. So I'm very, very thankful that I went through that.
The forever student in me is very proud watching no one take their phone out to Google the body issue to see the photo that you're referencing. I'm sure a lot of people are going to look it up after this, but she rocked it, owned it, and it's really, you were
Thank you. I appreciate
incredibly
that. Thanks.
powerful. It was awesome. Loved seeing that. I'd love, Linda, if you could share on this topic, because I know in my own professional career, I've been met with sometimes even, I hate using the word threat, but really it's been the threat that someone younger and prettier will come along and do my job for less money. And, you know, it's always been something that male colleagues or counterparts or in positions higher than mine have used. And I wonder if you could talk to body image and broadcasting for young women who might want to get into broadcasting and what you think about it.
Well, first of all, Aly, you have nothing to worry about. You're still very young and still very beautiful, and you don't ever let that cross your mind again, okay? But listen, it's part of the job. I accept it. I mean, I've been at ESPN for over 30 years. We grow old, we age, right? And I'm trying to age as naturally as I can, just normally.
And you look good, girl.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. And listen, I have stories to share regarding, back in the day, young people, when there was no social media, I did most of my time at ESPN in Connecticut, Bristol, Connecticut. And one of the stories I always share, which is really remarkable, you never know where criticism and body shaming comes from. So back in the day in Connecticut, if someone would call the main number of ESPN, and you say you call the main number of ESPN, and you say, I'd like to talk to Linda Cohn, they would get you right through to my voicemail. Okay, remember voicemail, okay? And so one day after a show when I did SportsCenter, I checked my messages, because again, no social media, no reaction at what I was wearing, how I looked that day. How about how did I do? None of that. But the voicemail that I'm referring to came through. I picked it up. It was a mom. I am a mom of 2 teenage boys, and I don't approve of what you were wearing on the show. And when you were standing up to deliver the sports, I noticed that your legs were not closed together. They were apart. Listen, people, my legs were maybe 8 inches apart. I'm not standing like a ballerina or something. This mom was worried about what her sons might be thinking about me. So you just never know where it's coming from. That's just one of many stories. But I have learned to block it out. When social media came upon us, it was my own daughter, now she's 31, but back in, I guess, 2008 when Twitter first really hit. And, I started to look at the mentions, and my daughter was the one that always reminded me the good mentions don't mean anything, and the bad mentions don't mean anything. They all don't mean anything. Mom, stop looking at it. And so that's what I tell young people all the time. As much as they would like the likes and, posting Instagram photos and all of that of what they're wearing, don't forget to be prepared for your assignment. That doesn't include what you're wearing, for the gig. You know what I'm saying? So I get times have changed. I get there's a balance. But I'm glad that we've seen, like softball, all shapes and sizes now for women who do what I do. And it just makes me smile.
Would you like to add anything, Julie?
No, they nailed it.
The other message that I just hope, and I have I think I've got a ton of younger girl cousins too, and with social media especially, it can be really difficult when you're navigating a broadcasting career or aspiring to be someone in our field. And luckily, I took away from my long ago days in pageantry that, the moment you leave your door, try to be the person, you just have to be prepared for the world. You close your front door and you go out into the world and you be conscious of yourself and try to put your best foot forward and look at the long term, because I had no idea I was going to be doing this even in my 20s. I was still, doing my master's degree and thinking I was going to be a career-driven attorney. And you just have to have a very long-term vision, because in the short term, that cute bikini pic with the thong might look nice now, but in the long term, when you're sitting in front of an executive that you want an important position, that might be a regret you have. So even if it might get you 1 million likes now, you might not like it so much later on in your career. So just keep in mind that things live on forever on the internet. So be careful what you post. I think all of us sitting up here were told no at some point in our careers or given excuses. Julie, I think in your case, you might have been more like 100 no's to start your team. Can you share with us how you were able to overcome?
Yeah, no, I have a career of no's. I actually went into a career to hear more no's than yeses. It's literally the definition of an entrepreneur. But especially with building Angel City. As I mentioned, it's 3 female founders. None of us have sports experience of any kind. And so we decided to bring a professional women's soccer team to Los Angeles, probably the top market in the world for sports, right? 9 professional sports teams, 11 if you count USC and UCLA, 2 professional men's soccer clubs, 1 that's killing it and 1 that is a dynasty. So the idea of bringing another professional team into LA was daunting, let alone a women's professional team that 10 years prior had closed. We got about 100 no's to what we were trying to do because our approach was so different. the idea for Angel City really came out of the Me Too movement, the Time's Up group, and really trying to drive for equity in women, and specifically equity for women's sports. Through all the work that the U.S. women's national team was doing with Time's Up at the time, Natalie and Kara were very much involved and realized that if they really wanted to make the most change, they needed to have a seat at the table. And a seat at the table is true ownership. And so we decided to bring a professional team to LA, but we also recognized that the why behind it was so much different. It wasn't just about building a sports team. It was about changing the narrative and at the end of the day, driving to equity. And that equity would be pay equity, viewership equity, sponsorship dollar equity, media attention equity at the time, and it's probably not much different. 4% of all media journalism is about women's sports. I think that's grown thanks to Angel City, but it's still not at 50-50. And so we decided that that was going to be core to what we wanted to do. We were going to lead with passion and purpose to drive to profitability. Every single thing we did was going to have an impact in the community, a positive impact that ultimately would drive us closer and closer to equity, which we knew we wouldn't get to overnight. But if every single action we took got us a little bit closer, then that goal was even more achievable. And so we went to professional investors, majority of which were men, unfortunately, because it takes a lot of money to run a professional sports team, and they didn't understand. They're like, wait, are you a charity or are you a business? Like, which one are you? And they didn't fundamentally understand that you could be both. And we were also going to them and saying, hey, we have this incredible idea. We are incredibly passionate about this and we know what we're going to do, but we need you to fund this and we need you to be the face of this. And it was like, hey, you get to keep all of it and we'll take a little bit because we just want it to exist because that was the traditional way of doing it. And at some point, it clicked that nobody that we were pitching would ever be as passionate about us, would never care as much about us. And at the end of the day, truly didn't understand that we were building a platform that was so much bigger than sports, that we're building a global brand to drive attention and awareness to what we were doing so that the revenue that we could generate would cause the greatest amount of impact. And so once we started to talking with individuals who understand that, which happen to be celebrities and athletes, because they build their platform and their brand to use it both to drive their professional careers, but also whatever matters to them. And from a social impact perspective, we felt like we sort of hit the nerve. And then it was the opposite. It's like, you know what? You're going to join us. Like, you're going to give us money. And we built this as a startup where we find investors who believe in our mission and our purpose and want to be part of this movement of really getting women's sports to the level of men's sports and beyond, because I think that's where we're seeing the trend. And it changed everything. So we weren't stopped by the no's. What we realized, though, and what entrepreneurs realize is when you get the no, first of all, I found 90% of the reason you get a no is because it's just easier than saying yes. It's so, I don't understand what you're saying, so it's a no. Like, I have to ask you questions and look dumb, so it's a no, right? This isn't my wheelhouse, so I say no. They actually don't take the time to really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. And so no is just a reason for you to either change your story and narrative so that it becomes more relevant to them, or realize that they're probably not the right audience and to figure out who the right audience is. Because once we figured out who the right audience was, starting with Alexis Ohanian, who's Serena Williams' husband, but it didn't stop for another 98 investors that included the great Billie Jean King and 14 former U.S. women's national team players like Julie Foudy and Abby Wambach and Mia Hamm, Lindsey Vonn, men's athletes like Kobe Jones and Ryan Khalil. So when you get your message to the right person, you stop hearing the no. And not only do you hear the yes, but the most amazing part that comes next is, how can I help?
Have you been told no before, Lauren?
Yeah,
That was powerful. I paused.
I know. I'm like, sorry. I was like listening so
me too.
intently. I'm like, this is so cool. I would say, yeah, I've been told no plenty of times. I think the biggest no that I've been told came from myself, though, and I know that we can agree on that. Like, everybody in here is like, kind of like, yeah. I told myself no a lot, and one of the things I told myself no about a lot was this commissioner role. And I'm widely known as the softball player. Okay, I was like, Lauren, the softball player, and so that became a lot of my identity through my younger years and growing up, and even into professional. And when I retired, which was in 18, due to injury, I kind of had to redefine a little bit of what I was doing. But it wasn't as crazy of a task as I thought, because I had already started to kind of get that business sense. I was always interested in it. And I really wanted to see what was on the other side of all this, what was happening when I was hitting the home run. I always wanted to know that. I wanted to get to that other side. So I started working with Rawlings straight out of college. I started as an ambassador. And my first thing after I signed the contract was like, when's your winter meetings? And they were like, what? And I was like, when is the winter meeting? I want to see what goes on. And so I actually flew out, and they had it in Boston. And I got to meet with the sales teams and figure out what was the driving force behind what they were promoting, what was going out. And Jen and Morgan, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Those are like interesting meetings, but as a player, you never see that stuff. But that was kind of like my step into, I just want to be equipped. And as an athlete, and a lot of you guys can understand this too, to be great, you have to work at it. You've got to work at it. So yes, I knew how to hit a softball. I knew how to play on the field, but I wanted to be great in other areas and make up for my lack of going to school to be a commissioner, right? Or having that business degree. I was like, I went to school for softball. Okay, let's be honest. I went to school for softball. So how can I make up where I lack? And in sports, if you can't figure it out, you go practice. Right? So I knew I had that on my side. I'm like, I know how to work hard. I've worked my ass off this whole time. So I know I can do this. So I'm going to go find the holes and attack where I'm a little bit weaker and figure out how to make up for it.
Linda, have you been told no?
A million times. There's plenty of people probably no longer alive that told me to stick to radio back in the day, and that I'd never make it in TV, and that I didn't have a face for TV, I didn't have a look for TV, and all that. So again, another example of thank God, how things have changed for the better. But yeah, totally. And a quick story about just ESPN. I was there for the first 2 years, thought everything was going peachy keen, everything was great. Nobody said anything about my work on SportsCenter. Then I was asked to go into my boss's office, where two of the main bosses, both men, called me in after doing a 6 p.m. Eastern SportsCenter. And I remembered I wanted to get home to watch the New York Rangers play the Devils in the playoffs. But they were keeping me, and I had to go to the office. And out of nowhere, they said, Linda, we know you love sports. We hear you talk about it in the newsroom. Everybody loves you. But you know what? That doesn't come across as much as we'd like on the air. And they went on and on. They said, we think you could do better. And to cut to the chase, really, they said, they had an option in my contract to pick up 2 years, but they said, we're going to give you 6 months to do better. And they, to their credit, they had someone that looked over my tapes with me of the shows, and it was just a simple adjustment. This is the thing, communication and lack thereof. That, if they just told me like week 1 when I started this little thing, it would have been fixed. But I think they were afraid to talk to me or to tell me. Because I was like the main woman, on SportsCenter. So of course I fixed it. Basically, became more natural and doing highlights. And then that was it, 30 years later, I'm still there. So yeah, I was told no.
Yeah. How about you, Misty?
I need all of the stories. I need them all. Yes. Probably more by my parents than, no, I'm kidding. So there's some you want to listen to the no, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But I always like challenges. So I've been very lucky. My dad's Hawaiian, so I have this Hawaiian mentality where nothing kind of can rattle me, or at least it looks like nothing rattles me. So I always took people's negative comments, whether they were yelling at me on the court or anything, as I turned it into a positive. So for me, I always took the no and was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to work a little harder. I put my blinders on, had my goal, and just went for it. And I was like, I'll show them. So I used the no to fuel that fire, to kind of look internally and say, what am I doing wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Do I need to work on something? What's going on in order to overcome just that hurdle? So I always looked at no as an opportunity to get better and to show them that they were wrong. I like making people look bad. Not all that, but on the court. But so for me, no turned into that fire that fueled, and
Right.
I made it a yes.
I feel like, Linda, you'll appreciate this stuck with me. To this day, it sticks with me. I'll never forget the day I went to go and tell my boss at the law firm where I was working at the time that I was going to leave law and go and be a sports reporter. I was very excited about the whole day. I stepped out my front door, I put my best suit on, and I mean, it wasn't a secret. I had been moonlighting and leaving work early on game days to go be the in-arena host for the Habs, which he seemed to really enjoy and be proud of me about. But this day, he said, I'm making the biggest mistake of my life, that I have such a promising career as a lawyer, and that the only female sideline reporter who will ever be successful is Erin Andrews. That's what he told me. So I said, okay, and I'm still leaving. And I went on to pursue my career. And 2 years after that, I was given the opportunity to host the only English language sports television show in Quebec, where I'm from, in Montreal. And he came in person to the launch party and apologized. And,
Wow.
and we're still in touch to
Wow.
this day. And he's a very supportive fan. So it came full circle. But you know, you'll hear a lot of no's. I know we have a few moms on the stage. Can you have it all? Can you have a career and a family? And whoever wants to dive right in, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, you can. And if you don't want a family, that's okay too. But if you choose to have a family, you can have it all. And I'm just glad, again, we're moving in the right direction where it's not a shocker anymore. I remember when I was pregnant with my second child, Dan, and I was, it's funny, I did Sports Center 36 hours before my water broke with Dan. And
That doesn't surprise me at all.
But it was like when I was pregnant back then, we're talking then, that was like the mid-90s then, okay? And I remember, I was really pregnant, you look pregnant. And, you had guys that you work with could make comments like that. Here comes Linda coming around the corner, blah, blah, blah. And all you could do was laugh. You couldn't tell anybody. It was really difficult. And when I look back, I'm like, I'm just so glad I didn't let some jackass change my journey, right? So you can have it all. And let me tell you, when you look back, you're not going to look, you're going to look back on your career and you say, yeah, that was great. That was cool. That was amazing. I helped people, blah, blah, blah. But all that matters is your loved ones because they care the most and you love them the most. And I'm just so proud. It's my biggest accomplishment in my life is having my 2 kids and raising them to be 2 independent, incredible people at the same time of having a job that I enjoy.
I'm going to take the easy way out. My daughter's here. So what do you think, Al? Do I have it all? I think, yes, I think you can. I think the important thing to note is this concept of work-life balance doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Someone said to me the other day, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life harmony. I kind of like that better because at some point in time, you're going to work more than you're going to be at home. And sometimes you're going to be at home more than you're going to work, right? And sometimes, and I'm working on this very hard with my team, you're going to take care of yourself as much as you work and as much as you take care of your family. So it's not about work-life balance. It's about finding joy and happiness in everything you do with your family, with your work, with your coworkers, and with yourself, and making sure that you prioritize that at the right time for you. Right now and last year, my priority was building Angel City Football Club. And it brought me the most joy in the world, which I hope has made me a better mom and made me a better role model to my kids. So you can just be really realistic with yourself and don't beat yourself up when you don't have that work-life balance, because I promise you it does not exist.
That's good to hear.
No, I agree. I think you can have it all. I think everybody's journey is different. My journey was different from my teammate's journey. She got pregnant pre-Olympics, at the Olympic, like all the above, like having babies on the court. I don't know. So I've been through it all, and she was able to balance it out. My journey, and like everybody else's journey, will be different whether you have kids or don't have kids. And again, I would trade my gold medals for I have 3, and one's here today, who is a diehard Gibson fan, and he gets cards like every game. But I waited till I was done with my career to have kids, and the only reason is because I think somebody touched upon it earlier, that you have life experiences that kind of change your thinking. And my mom hasn't been with me for 20 years. She passed away, so that changed my thinking. And I knew when I wanted to have kids, I wanted to spend every moment I could with them on their journey. I didn't want to take anything away, so my journey was just a bit different. but I've seen moms be able to handle the sports, the workload, be wonderful, great people, still have time to volunteer in other aspects. And again, I think it goes back to that community that you keep close tied and using resources around you. You know, don't be afraid to use the resources there. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And one thing that we have a hard time with is asking for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Everybody needs it. You got to be vulnerable. But I do believe that you can have it all. It just depends on that team around you and what you're willing to be vulnerable at. And
Well, Julie, I forgive me, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that in terms of work and life, it is amazing if you can find a place to work that is like a family. And for me, that was huge because I spend during the season more time with my work family than I do with my own family. So if you can find the balance in that way, and believe me, because I've worked for different organizations and employers where it's the opposite, if you find that, hold on to it, and it's really magical. And that starts from the top down. I know for us, at least with the Anaheim Ducks, and I think Susan is here somewhere, Susan Samueli, and all up down through the organization. It really does trickle down, and it feels like a family. I know. Let's hear it for the Anaheim Ducks organization. If you work for the Anaheim Ducks, I know you know what I'm talking about, but it's something special, and it is unique, and it is hard to find. So in your adventures in your life, when you factor that in, and you know, there's so many. I think there's so many boxes that people try to check in their careers and their lives, but when you do find those subtle ones that blend between work and life, they're special. Before we get into the crowd questions, do you want to leave our audience with just a piece of advice that you would have given your younger self? Maybe you can start us off, Lauren.
Sure. I'm going through it right now. So it's very difficult to advocate for yourself. It's also very difficult to not advocate for yourself and not get what you need. So pick that hard wisely. I'm learning right now. So I'm on the journey with you, but always advocate for yourself.
If you can make out a career out of something you're passionate about, the impact that you can have in your career with your coworkers, with your family, and with the world is pretty significant. And it's real. It's possible.
Don't worry about what other people think of you. Simple as that. You know, if you have a gut feeling about you doing something or a decision you're about to make, don't worry about what others think. You know, make your own decision. It's your life. You're the director. You're the producer. You're the main actor, main actress. You make it happen.
just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. Know that you started from somewhere, and really acknowledge that place that you started with. You know, whether I'll talk from my, it was hard for me to understand what we really did until I was out of the sport, because I had blinders on and was so focused and just go, go, go. That really, I went through the process, but didn't really understand how much fun it was until the time was gone. So really enjoy the process. Enjoy each time you have on the court doing what you love, because it's a short time. It can be a long time, but even the long span can feel really short.
I'm in the world of hockey cliches, so I'm going to give you two. Are you ready? Everything happens for a reason. And I used to hate when people would tell me that. I was like, oh, what is the reason this is happening to me? There can't be a good reason for this, but I do believe that everything happens for a reason.
That's
now
a
in my
hockey
life.
cliche?
I'm just giving cliches, life cliches.
Oh, okay.
But because I work in hockey, I'm used to cliches, I meant to say. But, it does. So just, I think that just keep that in your mind when something bad or negative or hard is happening to you. Think there's got to be a reason. It might not be apparent now. It might be 5 years from now. You're going to look back and go, man, I'm glad that crappy thing happened to me back then. That's number one. I don't even remember number two. I have mom brain. But when it occurs to me during this question and answer, I'll let you know what number two was. It was important in the moment. But we're going to take questions from all of you. I'm going to try and direct them to one person to answer. If you have a person you want to answer specifically, then just address it to them right off the gate in your question. We're going to pass the microphone around now. Just raise your hand, and we're all open to it. Anything that your heart desires, you can ask, as long as we don't have a way to beep out words. So keep it PG. That's all I asked. All right. And if you could share your name, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dallas. My question is, What advice would you give to a woman who has built their career in one professional sport but is ready to transition to another one?
Linda, go for that
Wait,
one.
what was it? I'm sorry, I was changing through my glasses. What was it?
I thought you were ready to answer it. Okay, it was what if you want to transition from one professional. When we can get the Misty and Lauren to answer as well.
Yeah.
But I thought you were gearing up to answer it. That's why I picked on you. You just didn't hear it. How do you transition from one professional sport to another professional sport?
What sport, may I ask, or what?
I work in auto racing.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to Fontana.
That's
Right.
I'll be there.
If I could do something in my afterlife, it'd be racing cars.
I can get you into it.
So,
That would be a good story.
yeah. I went to race car driving school, so I went to race car driving school for like 4 years.
Yeah, that would be
I got
great.
my helmet and the whole thing. And yes, so it's fun. Need for speed. And but where are you transitioning from? From auto or
So I work in auto racing. I've been in auto racing for about 8 years now, and just ready to make a change. And I have a passion for hockey, so
okay.
You're in the right place.
I am.
Yeah.
So I can't speak from the business aspect point of it, but I went indoor to beach and everybody told me, oh no, there's no way that's going to happen. You should stick with what your bread and butter was with the indoor. And again, it's that no, right? And there's that questions. And I think the first thing you have to, from my aspect, be a student of the game. So you study everything you can, you ask questions, study everything that you possibly can or that you don't feel comfortable with. And the best thing I think that you're doing is how we grow as people is to get uncomfortable. And to me, you're making what would be an uncomfortable move or what you think might be uncomfortable. But I guarantee as soon as you make that move, you're going to slide right in and then it's not going to feel foreign. It's just that fear, right? Getting over that threshold. And I think if you're passionate about it and it's something that you want to do, you're going to enjoy the process, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would just say, I'm looking at my team back there, and one of them, any of them were in soccer before you came here? 1, 2. Most of our team didn't come intentionally. Like I actually intentionally wanted to build a team with people that had experiences outside of soccer, because when you build a team, you run into that, well, we've tried that before, or that didn't work, or my experience here, right? And men's sports isn't the same as women's sports, right? And so what I did was I said, okay, which league is the best in sponsorships? Which league is the best in fan engagement? Which league is the best in digital marketing? Where do I need to have somebody that understands sports for this role? And when do I not want someone in sports? And I actually want a completely different perspective to come in, learn sports, but bring their experience to it. And so I would say, transitioning from auto racing to hockey it's really about what are you good at? How do you understand right now, all that matters are fans. How do you bring a fan to an organization, right? So if you're able to bring it in your role in your organization and you can articulate how you can do it in another organization, that is just critical, because we're all looking for ways to grow. Fandom is so different today than it was 5 years, 10 years ago. You used to follow leagues. I was a hockey fan, right? And then you follow a team. I'm a Ducks fan, right? And then you follow a player. But when that player gets traded, now it's like I'm now a fan of the Kings. I know I shouldn't say that, but it's the first name that came to my mind.
oh,
It's the first thing that came to my mind, right? But because you now have that connection, that social media connection to that player. And so if you can articulate how you can capture that, or how you understand the business, or how you can help it grow, that's what matters more than anything. I'd even argue that having identical experience to someone next to you is actually a benefit to you, because you bring a different perspective to how you continue to grow that audience and grow that engagement with fans.
Thank you so much.
You go to events like this and WISE, that's another great organization, but network and meet people, because women are helping women, and the more organizations you get to, the more opportunities you get to meet people, you'll find yourself in the right room.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Julie, and thank you, Dallas, for your question. All right, we got another question. Anybody? I see a couple of raised hands.
Right here. Okay.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and my question is, what is your best piece of advice for young girls who are trying to get into such a high demand field of like sports and sports business?
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay. Do you want to be like in broadcasting or in business side?
More on the business side.
Okay, business side, so then it's these guys.
It's funny because when I was younger, I played sports, I played basketball, and of course I wanted a career in sports. The only job I thought I could have was that of an agent. Like, it didn't occur to me that the sports was a business and that women even did that. And then I did my research, and it was IMG in the middle of the country, and that was out. I'm not leaving California, so that led to a new career. But what I would say is, similar to my previous answer, you just got to put yourself in the right rooms, right? You have to join the organizations, you have to meet people. There's job boards. Just get your foot in the door to find out what you really love. Because there are so many teams now, and it doesn't have to be a professional team, right? There are so many leagues that are starting up, unique leagues, unique opportunities. Colleges are professional businesses now. So there's just so many more opportunities. Don't be limited by what you think is sports. Just find a way in, even if it's on the sponsorship side, right? Even if you're working at a brand that then supports sports teams, or an agency that supports sports teams, right? There's a lot of different touch points to sports. So easier said than done.
And try and find your way to Julie after this panel. That would be a good starting point. Thank you, Natalie.
Well, my table just dared me to ask for an internship.
We do tons of internships for exactly this reason. Yeah.
The month of May, I'm ready.
So there you go.
I'll talk to you after. I'll talk to you after.
She got you.
Like the fire. I like that. Bold. That was great. Here we go.
Hi. So I'm asking this question for my daughter. She's a soccer player.
Sorry, we can't see who's asking the question.
I am
hi.
asking-
Hi. What's your name?
My name is Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
I work for 23 ABC. I brought my daughter here.
Thank you for coming.
So this is for Julie. Since the birth of ACFC, the first professional women's soccer team in California, since the LA Soul in 2009, California has seen the birth of another successful club with the San Diego Wave. I hope it's very clear that women in sports are here to stay and thrive. With that being said, what do you feel it will take from everyone in sports to keep this momentum going? And what will it take from you?
It's so simple. You have to support women's sports. That's it. You have to turn on the TV and watch. You have to buy a ticket. You actually have to go to the game of the ticket that you bought. You have to wear the merch. You have to tell your friends about it. You have to become an advocate for the sport and tell people how great it is. That's it. It is ultimately a business. I can talk a lot. We can drive a lot of impact, but if the money doesn't come in, the reality is it is a business. And the reality of women's sports, and if you saw Angel City play last year, if you saw the San Diego Wave play last year, these women are exceptional. It is the best professional football in the United States, full stop. It is the best professional football in the world. That's right. That's my team. So, but you have to support the sport, and you have to realize that you actually play a role. So at Angel City, because our goal and our purpose is ultimately to drive to equity, we wanted to find a way to engage everybody in that process. One way was when we started bringing on sponsors and brands, we developed the Angel City sponsorship model. So 10% of all sponsorship dollars goes back into the community, which was great. But also, we wanted to find a way to let the fans know that their involvement and participation and support of the sport could also drive to equity, that you could also have a seat at the table to ultimately change the future of the sport. So we launched the 1% Player Fund. So 1% of all of our net gate receipts go to the players if they use their name, image, and likeness to promote the sport. So we're encouraging the players to drive fandom and to drive their fans to come and watch them. But we're also telling you, when you support women's sports, it actually has a meaningful and direct impact back to the players. It's something that no professional team has ever done. It's something that our professional league didn't like when we did it. But fundamentally, what we're trying to say is, when you show up to the game, it is likely that you are going to buy concessions. It is likely that you're going to buy a t-shirt. That then goes into the business that I can then use to then drive impact and to ultimately play these players more. The secondary benefit is, when I'm on television and you come to the stadium, it looks full. Well, if something looks full, that means it's cool and other people are going to want to come. And then when my media rights deal is up, I can say, you know what? I want more money because of the value of the fans, right? So that is a very long way of saying support women's sports by turning on the TV, buying a merch, coming to a game, and telling your friends, because we need everybody to do it.
All right. Your turn.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, I'm Emily. My question's for Linda because I'm in the broadcast field. So I know we kind of discussed how to tackle issues on like being treated differently because you're a woman working in the field. But how do you go about like tackling an issue where like you're a woman working in the field, but you're also maybe like the youngest on the crew or much younger than like your male employees?
Who cares? I mean, again, stop worrying about what other people think, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. If you're prepared for wherever you're doing, whatever assignment, you got this. And I don't care how are they judging. I don't care if someone's telling you, wow, this is really amazing considering your age that you're here doing this. Like, what do you mean? So it doesn't matter. You just have to block out those people, almost laugh in their face. It doesn't matter, because if you know what you're doing and you're prepared, it doesn't matter how old you are. None of that matters. It's all noise. It's like reading your mentions. Don't even listen to anything. Okay?
I agree. And I would just add that your youth is a gift. It's great that you're young and you're motivated and if you're working with people who are much older than you, then you've done something right. So you keep on the path, and I think you can never be. I'm a big believer that you can never be over prepared.
They're worried about their job. Let's face it.
That
literally.
too. And that too. But like Linda said, if you've done the work and you're prepared, just have the confidence that you're meant to be where you are, that you're there for a reason, and somebody saw that in you. So
That's
believe
so
it in
true.
yourself.
Can I add something too?
Yeah.
Is that you're 29 years old, right? Like there's a perspective that we have that other people don't too. There's so much wisdom that we don't have. It's a learning process, but all we can do is bring ourselves to the table and give what we can.
Next question. Let's take a look in the crowd and see if there's a microphone. I see it back there. Hi.
Hi, my name is Yaz. I'm soon to be graduating college senior from USC. I've worked in the NHL before, and my question was, what advice do you have for someone currently entering the job field? I know you've somewhat answered this in your previous questions, though.
Someone
I'll add something.
Someone entering in the NHL, in broadcasting, or in what?
Within sports, like going for your first job out of college.
Okay, you're just your first job. I think the only reason that I'm even sitting here, because I had no idea that this job even existed when I was in college, is because I took every opportunity that came my way. So if you're starting a new field, a new job, and there's something interesting, I would just say, don't be scared. I know it's easy to say, and you probably feel nervous and have some anxiousness about new tasks that you might be given. But if there's something exciting and you want to try it, I tried things that I had never even covered. I've covered sports that I'd never even, I got assigned to do the weirdest things and things that but really, there's things that I remember going, I'm going to have to be up all night. I don't even know how to keep score in this sport. And then, I would go and I would nail it, because you got to be over prepared for everything you do. But I would say if it's your first job, just try and take as much as you can away from it and try and learn every day something new. I would also highly suggest that you take that notebook on the table with you and write down everything, because the one frustrating thing for other people around you in your first job is if they have to repeat themselves if you've asked them something. And I tell this to all people who shadow me or who intern. Don't be shy to ask someone to repeat it the time you're asking the question and write it down, but be shy to ask it 3-4 times, because then they're going to look at you like, why aren't you listening to my answers? So when you're learning in your first job, just take it all in. Try and be a student of the job that you're in, just like you were in school, and I'm sure you'll nail it.
I would be like, before I got to ESPN, I needed to get out of like Long Island radio and Long Island TV. And I thought to myself, where do I want to live? Because I knew I had to go out of the New York metropolitan area. And one of the places that gave me a call back was Seattle, Washington. And that propelled me to the ESPN job. The reason why I bring that up, if you decide you want to stay in this area, and like we talked about, there are a million teams of all levels, you have to be aggressive. And also you live in a wonderful time where we have, LinkedIn and we have Indeed, and there's always postings of entry-level jobs. Find out where you want to be, what teams you want. You might as well aim high. You have a great, education, and then you're in the area. I would go visit the place. I would get somebody on the phone and say, hey, I'm around, can I have 10 minutes of your time? Whoever is in that hiring position that you see the job posted on, LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever. I think there's another one too. It's Time Out. I think that's the other one for sports jobs. And I would just exhaust that. I mean, when my son was looking for a sports job, he did exactly that same thing. And, at the very least, you get to talk and network that way. And that becomes very valuable. And then you could keep those names and numbers in that notebook Aly is talking about.
I would just add two things. One is your career is really long. Like when I was getting out of college, I knew I wanted the job right away, and I said no to a lot of things because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I am 25, 6, 7, 8 years into my career. That's probably you're older than what you are, which is my point, which is like your career is so long that take opportunities that can get you in the right room eventually. You don't have to be in it tomorrow. I have never worked a day in sports before Angel City, but it was my connections and my networks and that got me here, right? So Kara brought me into Angel City because we've known each other for years and we respected each other. And we wanted to find a way to work with each other, and we thought we'd try it out. But I never had, a job in sports before. So get your foot in the door to what you love, follow your passion because it'll become a family and you'll love it. And then make connections and build your network because, I've known Kara for 15 years and this is the first time I'm working with her and it's my dream job. So.
I just have a quick story on that, which I think it's awesome how it plays out. But I'm an MLB youth ambassador, so I go around anytime you see play ball events or just getting cities to pull up and play ball. That's where I'm at with Jenny Finch and Natasha Watley. So it's an awesome job, awesome gig. And I didn't even know it was going to happen, but I remember my friend was like, hey, would you just come and fill in? And at the time I was like, still playing, I was doing camps and whatever. And she's like, you're not going to get paid, but you're going to meet a lot of cool people. Like you have a shot to get around the right people. And it was at All-Star. And I was like, you know what? Sure. Like it's going to be great. Whatever. And so we were out on play ball field. And I wasn't a youth ambassador yet, but I was kind of a volunteer that was around and just offering my services. And the DJ didn't show up for the play ball event. And they're all looking at each other, like, and the mic's just sitting there and there's a ton of kids and everybody like, and I'm like, go. So I run to the mic and I grab the mic and I'm the DJ all of a sudden, like pulling this out. I don't even know the names of the people. I'm just guessing. And Kim Ng was there and she was working in the youth industry in MLB before she became the GM of the Marlins. She's insane. I mean, Kim, like shout out to Kim. But she was there and she was sitting on the bench and she didn't really have an active role that weekend, but she was just taking inventory of how it all went. And I happened to be at the right place at the right time. And then I think it was 5 months later, I become a youth ambassador there and I have a dream gig with MLB. So I would say just, again, what you said is like, just do it. I mean, it doesn't always have to have that dollar sign next to it. If like these events, I mean, you guys, I think you paid a ticket to be here. And then there's crazy opportunities coming off of some of the questions that you guys asked. I think it's awesome. So continue to put yourself in the right place.
How are we doing for time? I don't see Sammy. I don't see anything anymore because the light's so bright. Do we have time for another question? Yep.
Hi.
Okay, let's see.
Right here.
Hi there, all the way in the back.
Hi there, the Peanut Gallery.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Caitlin. Thank you guys so much for hosting this tonight, Ducks, and for you guys sharing all your wisdom. Linda, this question's for you because you touched on it in an earlier anecdote. I sometimes find that it's hard to be such a passionate sports fan as a woman and working in sports as a woman because I feel like men can get away with it. And sometimes I feel like I have to like prove that I'm a fan and a woman that works in sports. So I know you touched on it a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you find that balance?
So you are a sports fan, or do you feel like you have to prove to the
no,
men?
No, I am a sports fan.
Right. Okay. So continue. I just want to make sure I got it right.
No, it's just when I started my job, I felt like I work at the NFL, and I felt like I had to be like a macho. Like I know football. I know every player that's ever played. And I didn't. But I also sometimes feel like I am such a big fan that I want to maintain professionalism and all that stuff. So just how do you balance passion and professionalism?
I love this question.
Sports?
I love this question because I think being a sports fan, I've always said over my years, I'm a fan first. I don't care about Emmy Awards. I don't care all that BS. I don't care anything. I care about connecting with these athletes. And that when I've met the athletes for the first time that I've done highlights of, they would always tell me, You seem to care about us. You seem to connect with us. And you also seem to connect with the fans, the fellow fans. That's important. You don't ever change, okay? Because that is a connection that you have not only with the athletes you're covering in the team, but the fans. Because the fans will look at you and like, wow, she's one of us. You know, she's a fan. I'm not saying you're waving the pom-poms. You know, there's a time and place. But I think that has helped me over the decades in this business because people always say, wow, you know, you're so authentic. When they meet me for the first time, they're like, God, you're like us. You know, you're like, you know, you're stick up for your team, your player, you're a play, or you want to get into a fight. You know, that's the New Yorker in me coming out. So again, this is about being yourself. I think that's a great trait, and you will just skyrocket because of it. And by the way, it's so great. So you don't have to change for anybody. Don't ever change for anybody. I love that you're a fan first. It's fabulous.
I love it too. That's why I don't sit in the press box because I cheer.
I have
loud.
stories from back in the day.
I get upset if I need to. I'm a fan too. It's really you have to be a fan if you want to. If you love sports, then show it on your sleeve. Do we have another question? I think we have one more somewhere. One more
right over
question.
here. Hi. Thank you so much, by the way, for hosting this event. It's great to see you guys talking. This is for all of you. So I'm a tennis player right now, and I'm studying sports management. I'm an undergrad, and I wanted to ask. I'm studying sports facilities management, and I want to work in tennis stadiums and any kind of stadium, honestly. But I wanted to ask, what advice can you give to a young undergrad sports management student to stand out and get ahead in the game?
Intern. I mean, there are so many stadiums here. You know, we don't have our own dedicated stadium. We play at the BMO Stadium, previous known as the Bank. It's going to take me a while to make that change. But we have our own practice facility that we work at, and we take interns every summer. So get an internship. It doesn't matter the sport. Just get a foot in the door so that you can eventually transition to where you want to go. Dignity Health Park. This is working for me. Dignity Health Park.
Hold it in the middle.
No.
Yeah. There you go.
Dignity Health Park would be great because they have both a soccer pitch and they have a velodrome and they have a tennis center. So that could really achieve your goals of everything. But I would just get a foot in the door, even if it's interning, because that we can never not have enough people. So if you start looking, we'll find something.
Thank you. I think it's because of you set a team before you shouldn't have, so they're turning your mic over. No, I'm kidding. I remembered what my second piece of advice was all this time later. It's something that I don't do. It's live in the moment, and I'm working on it. But I think my whole life I set long-term goals so that I feel like I'm achieving things towards those goals. But it is you touched on it. It is so important to try and live in the moment. And there are moments that I wish I would have been a little bit more present for, but I'm always thinking of the next thing. So you just try and live in those moments. And then I would just like to say before we head into our speed mentorship, first of all, thank you everybody for participating and listening, being great listeners. I always feel like in these moments, my grandma Ella is looking down, and her best advice was to aim high, never aim low. The higher you aim, the higher you go. I love her. I will tell you though, when I became a lawyer, she came to my call to bar ceremony and she said, "Congratulations. Now when are you going to be a judge?" And I was like, give me one afternoon, Grandma, to get one goal before setting the next. But aim high, and when you've achieved something, set another goal for yourself and keep climbing and going after your dreams, because if you believe it, you can be it.